They always tell you there's a catch, a compromise, an asterisk. Sprite Zero Sugar? It's different. It's the lemon lime flavored refreshment you want with zero sugar. This is Sprite Zero Sugar. Obey your thirst.
This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Hello and welcome to War Horses, the only college equestrian podcast that didn't have to make a lot of changes to the rankings this week. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Let's talk about some college equestrian. All right, we're starting off. This is week 11. We had a full week of action here. We've resumed here in the spring. So with that, let's jump right into some meet recaps. First up, we want to look at UC Davis at SMU. The Aggies went on the road. They rode against 3 different opponents this weekend. So, yeah, let's see how things went. The projected score for this, based on the stats, was going to be SMU 16, UC Davis 4. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-1 for SMU. Flat went 3-2 for SMU. Horsemanship went 4-1 for SMU. And reining also went 4-1 for SMU. That made the final score SMU 15, UC Davis 5. So the Aggies did a tiny bit better than the stats projected, which is great. Going on the road to SMU is tough. Probably didn't expect the Aggies to win this one. Very few teams could go on the road to SMU and win. So, 5 points I think is fine. For SMU, good way to open up the spring. They invited UC Davis to come in and be their victim, and everything went according to plan. Over we go to another meet, South Carolina at Baylor. Now, the projected score in this was South Carolina 12, Baylor 8. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 3-1 for South Carolina. Flat went 3-2 for Baylor. Horsemanship went 4-1 for South Carolina, and reining went 2-1 for Baylor. Add all that up, that made the final score South Carolina 10, Baylor 7. So this one, let's see, in the projected, it was going to be a 4-point differential with the visitors winning. It ended up being a 3-point differential. So actually, Baylor did a little bit better than expected. Baylor's about the 8th, 9th, 10th best team, somewhere in there. And South Carolina, in my rankings, is about the 3rd best, maybe 4th. Anyway, the stats thought that the Gamecocks would win. They went on the road and they did win. They beat Baylor. This would have been a nice one for the Bears to have gotten, but they didn't, and there you go. But a good road win for South Carolina. UC Davis at TCU. So now the Aggies are going over to TCU. Let's see. The projected score was TCU 12, UC Davis 7. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-1 for TCU. Flat went 3-2 for TCU. Horsemanship went 4-0 for TCU. And reining went 3-1 for TCU. Add all that up, that made the final score TCU 14, UC Davis 4. So here we got the Aggies doing a little bit worse than what the stats projected. But again, going to TCU is kind of tough. And there you go. TCU, good way for them to open up the spring. They invite UC Davis over for a nice little meet and just really, put the points up on them. Good job for the Horned Frogs. Next meet to look at, Georgia at UT Martin. Okay, now this one was one I told everybody to keep an eye on because the stats projected this was going to be an 8-8 tie with UT Martin winning the tiebreaker. Let's see what really happened. In fences, Georgia swept the event 5-0. On the flat, Georgia won that one 4-1. In horsemanship, that was a 2-2 draw, and in reining, it was another 2-2 draw. That made the final score Georgia 13, UT Martin 5. So not close at all. UT Martin did not win. Really good road not really good. This is a good road victory for Georgia. Okay, they're the number 2 team in the nation, and UT Martin is, in my rankings they're not ranked, but still, you go on the road, and the stats thought this was going to be real close, but it wasn't. Georgia showed up, and they did what they were supposed to. For UT Martin, I think what we're seeing with the stats is a lot of their fall meets were against ECAC competition, and a lot of Georgia's were against SEC and Big 12 competition. So the strength of schedule might have inflated the Skyhawks numbers a little bit, and now we're seeing everything kind of regress to the mean. And so anyway, Georgia put the hammer down and they won on the road. But still, UT Martin, these things happen sometimes. You got to get ready. Going to be hosting Auburn the next following day. So there you go. But before that happens, let's talk about Bridgewater at Sweetbriar. This is a single discipline meet. The stats projected that this would be a 7-3 win for Sweetbriar. Let's see what really happened. In fences, Sweetbriar, they won that event 4-1. And on the flat, the Vixens won 4-0. That made the final score 8-1 Sweetbriar. So for this one, the Vixens, they were in control from start to finish. The stats thought they were maybe be a little bit more challenged, but no, they really defended their home turf pretty well. For the Eagles there, they got 1 point on the road. That's tough to do. Most teams can't go into Sweetbriar and get a win, and so they didn't. All right, over we go to South Carolina at Texas A&M. So the Gamecocks are still on that road trip. The stats thought this was going to be Texas A&M 10, South Carolina 6. Let's see what really happened. In fences, the teams went 2-2. On flat, Texas A&M won that 3-2. In horsemanship, Texas A&M won 4-1. And in reining, Texas A&M again won that 4-1. That made the final score Texas A&M 13, South Carolina 6. So here the homestanding Aggies, they did a little bit better than the stats projected. Won this one by, what is that margin? That's a 7-point margin. So, and the stats thought it'd be about a 4-point margin. So pretty good. But still, for the Gamecocks, not that big a deal. You go on the road in the conference and it's tough. So yeah, they were expected to lose this and they kind of did. So there you go. All right, next meet to look at, Auburn at UT Martin. The stats thought this one was going to end up Auburn 14, UT Martin 6. Let's see what really happened. In fences, Auburn won that 4-1. On the flat, Auburn won that 3-2. In horsemanship, Auburn won 3-1. And in reining, UT Martin won that 4-1. That made the final score Auburn 11, UT Martin 8. So this one actually ended up being the one that was a little close. Auburn still won by 3, but still, you would expect the number 1 team in the nation going up against an unranked team, even on the road, to do a little bit better than this. This is kind of what we would have figured that would have happened with Georgia and UT Martin, and Georgia's score was what we kind of figured Auburn would do over there, but yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes teams just don't ride very well, and here again we see Auburn not getting hardly any points in reining, and I'll just tell you, Auburn fans, you might want to start worrying about the postseason. I know you always got stuff to worry about, but boy, if Auburn struggles in reining and then in maybe one other event like flat or something like that, teams can beat them. And here we see Auburn not doing too well on the road, and oh well. Anyway, it's just one meet. There you go. It was a road meet. Auburn won, and that's the end of it. And so let's keep moving right along. All right, South Carolina at SMU. The projected score of this, going into it, the stats thought this was going to be SMU 12, South Carolina 4. Let's see what really happened. In fences, SMU won that 3-2. On the flat, SMU won that 4-1. In horsemanship, SMU won that 3-1. And in reining, South Carolina won that 3-2. That made the final score SMU 12, South Carolina 7. So the Gamecocks did a little bit better than the stats thought they would. The stats thought they'd get blown out, but they ended up only losing by 5, a margin of 5. That's not too bad. Again, SMU had a rough fall because they went on the road so much. Now that they're at home, they're looking really good. But this is about what we expected. It's tough to win at SMU, and there you go. All right, last meet to look at, UC Davis at Fresno State. We haven't seen a lot of these meets between these two teams in the past couple of years just because of the way scheduling went. But, man, back in the day, you used to see them ride against each other all the time. Well, here you go. The stats thought this was going to be Fresno State 11, UC Davis 4. Let's see what really happened. In fences, Fresno State won that 3-2. On the flat, Fresno State won that 3-2. In horsemanship, Fresno State won that 4-0. And in reining, Fresno State won that 3-1. That made the final score Fresno State 13, UC Davis 5. So here again, the stats thought it would be about a 7-point margin. It ended up being an 8-point margin. So yeah, that's kind of what you get. For UC Davis, it's tough to go on the road, especially because the first 2 trips were plane trips going way over into Texas. Then they come back home, and then they have to drive on over to Fresno. And boy, that's a rough road. That's a rough way to do road trips. But they did okay. For Fresno State, good home win. They beat a local rival there, and good job for them. So that was all the meets to look back at. Now let's look at the official Auburn Elvis College Equestrian Rankings. Now, I got a spoiler for you, and I kind of spoiled this in the intro tagline up there. There ain't no changes to the rankings this week because everybody did as expected. UT Martin lost twice at home, but you know what? They were up against the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation, so we kind of expected them to lose. And they did a little bit better against one, but not quite as good against the other, so it all averages out. They did what we expected. And UC Davis, they lost 3 times on the road, but it was all to teams that were ranked higher than them, so we kind of expected that as well. Yeah, South Carolina won 1 against Baylor, which we expected that, and then they lost the other 2, which again we expected. Now Texas A&M is below South Carolina, but since we kind of expected it, I'm not going to penalize the Gamecocks. But I will understand if in your rankings, if you want to swap Texas A&M and South Carolina, you go right ahead and do it. I ain't going to do it, but you be my guest if you want to do that. Anyway, so here are the rankings. We'll go pretty quickly through these. Number 1 is Auburn. Number 2 is Georgia. Number 3 is Oklahoma State. Yeehaw! Number 4 is South Carolina. Number 5 is Texas A&M. Number 6 is SMU. Number 7 is TCU. Number 8 is Fresno State. And number 9 is Baylor.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
And number 10 is UC Davis.
Hello, you.
I don't know why I changed the tenor of my voice on number 9 to make it think it was the last one, but anyway, it happens. Moving right along, single discipline rankings. Again, no changes to this because we had Bridgewater Sweetbriar, and it kind of turned out exactly like we thought it would, so there's no need to change anything. I mean, I could see if you maybe wanted to move Bridgewater down a little bit and move Charleston up in the rankings, but I'm not going to do that. I think everybody did what they were supposed to do. Anyway, here are the single discipline rankings. Number 1 is Lynchburg. Number 2 is Dartmouth. Number 3 is Sacred Heart. Number 4 is Sweetbriar. Number 5 is Bridgewater. Number 6 is College of Charleston. Number 7 is Berry College. Number 8 is Sewanee. And number 9 is Centenary.
It's a twister. It's a twister.
There we go. See, I got the voice inflection right on number 9 because there ain't no number 10. So yeah, that's the rankings. I'll just tell you in the dual discipline, yeah, there's not enough reason to move anybody. Like I said, you could move Texas A&M and South Carolina, but I think with the margin, it's still in South Carolina's favor on that, especially because Texas A&M did lose at home to Georgia, and South Carolina has not lost at home yet. If they are gonna, they might not. So that in my book, that means they're probably better better than Texas A&M, even given the loss that happened on the road this weekend. Over in the single discipline side, again, with Bridgewater there, I could see if you wanted to move them below Charleston. I think both of them lose on the road, and neither one of them lost at home. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have Charleston ahead of Bridgewater now. But anyway, I'm going to leave it where it is. It's fine. It's fine. It'll all work out. Okay, that's enough consideration of the rankings. Now let's look into the future with some meet previews. Okay, so coming up this Friday, February 6th, we've got a good slate, and then we got some on Saturday, and then none on Sunday. Here we go. First off, on Friday, TCU at South Dakota State. I always like it when I see one of the bigger programs go over to one of the smaller programs. We're having that. And you know what? TCU better beware because, go on the road. It always helps the home team. Let's see what the computers think how they think this one will go. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for South Dakota State. Flat is predicted to go 3-1 for TCU. Horsemanship is predicted to go 3-2 for TCU. And Reining is predicted to go 3-2 for TCU. If all that happens, that would make the final score TCU 11, South Dakota State 8. So again, close, but the visitors would win. Moving right along, we have another team that is also going to be in the area, Delaware State versus TCU. Now, neither one of these is the visitors. This is a neutral site meet. Also, it's probably going to be 4-on-4. So that's how I'm going to wrap it up here. Fences is predicted to go 3-1 for TCU. Flat is predicted to go 3-1 for Delaware State. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-0 for TCU, and Reining is predicted to go 3-1 for TCU. If all that happens, that would make the final score TCU 11, Delaware State 5. So we'll see if that happens. Moving right along, we've got Oklahoma State at Baylor. So this is a Big 12 meet. This is a chance for Baylor to show that they deserve to go to Ocala. So they really need to get this home win, and they're capable of doing it. So let's see what the stats say. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for Baylor. Flat is predicted to go 4-1 for Baylor. So there you go in the jumping seat. The Bears are looking good, according to the stats. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-1 for Oklahoma State, and Reining is predicted to go 3-1 for Oklahoma State. If all that does happen, that would make the final score Oklahoma State 10, Baylor 9. So very close meet. This one could be flipped easily by one ride. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. That one's going to be one to look at. So, all right, last meet on Friday. Delaware State versus South Dakota State, or at South Dakota State. It's at South Dakota State. Fences is predicted to go 3-1 for South Dakota State. Flat is predicted to go 3-1 for Delaware State. Horsemanship is predicted to go 3-2 for South Dakota State, and Reining is predicted to be a 2-2 tie. If all that happens, that would make the final score South Dakota State 9, Delaware State 8. Ooh, so here we go. Home team would maybe get a 1-point victory here. So that'd be a big ECAC matchup. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. All right, over we go to Saturday. Auburn at South Carolina. Fences is predicted to go 3-1 for Auburn. Flat is predicted to go 3-1 for South Carolina. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-1 for Auburn, and Reining is predicted to go 3-0 for South Carolina. If all that happens, that would make the final score South Carolina 9 to Auburn's 8. Okay, so this one predicts a lot of ties, and it predicts the Gamecocks coming out on top, which I think, given that Auburn didn't do too well over UT Martin, I think this is a good prediction. I don't think Auburn's necessarily going to get the road victory over at South Carolina. It's been a couple of years since they've won at South Carolina. They've had some trouble with the Gamecocks. So, yeah, the stats like the Gamecocks, even though, Auburn's number 1. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, Auburn needs to be on upset alert. Okay, next up, Texas A&M at Georgia. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for Georgia. Flat is predicted to go 4-1 for Georgia. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-0 for Georgia, and Reining is predicted to go 3-1 for Georgia. If all that happens, that would make the final score Georgia 14 to Texas A&M's 4. So yeah, the stats like Georgia at home. The Bulldogs were able to beat Texas A&M over in College Station. So now that they've got all the home advantages, they look to really rack up some points. I tell you, if these first two meets on Saturday go the way way they're predicted, we're probably going to swing, Georgia's going to swing up into number 1 position because, yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to justify Auburn being number 1 if they don't win on the road, because Georgia did go on the road to, Texas A&M in the fall, and they beat them. So, yeah. Oh, well, but we'll see. We don't know how things are going to go. These are just projections. We've got to wait and see for the actual meets. And we still got 2 more meets to even talk about. Minnesota Crookston at Fresno State. So the Golden Eagles are going on the road, and here's what the stats predict should happen. Fences is predicted to go 4-1 for Fresno State. Flat is predicted to go 3-2 for Fresno State. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-1 for Fresno State, and reining is predicted to be a 5-0 sweep for the Bulldogs. If all that happens, that would make the final score Fresno State 16 to Minnesota Crookston's 4. So yeah, That might be what happens. That's a pretty big score, and I think that might be accurate. So yeah, moving right along, Minnesota Crookston's then going to go over to UC Davis, and probably the same day, maybe. Oh goodness. Well, maybe they'll go on Sunday, but darn, riding on the same darn day, that's tough. Anyway, they could do it. I mean, those 2 cities are close enough that you could do one in the morning and one in the evening. But boy, that's a bit of a road trip. Anyway, all right. Here's what the stats say. Fences is predicted to go 4-1 for UC Davis. Flat is predicted to go 4-1 for UC Davis. Horsemanship is predicted to be a 2-2 tie, and reining is predicted to be 3-0 for UC Davis. If all that happens, that would make the final score UC Davis 13 to Minnesota Crookston's 4. The margin is a little bit narrower than what we saw over at Fresno State. That's kind of reflected as, basically how good Fresno State is compared to UC Davis. And so, yeah, 13-4, I think that's pretty accurate. So we'll see what really happens, though. So, like I said, you got to watch all the events and see what the results are, and we'll talk about them next week and tell you kind of how you should interpret those and see who did what. So with the final thoughts, let's see. We're back into the spring. Everything's going good. I will tell you, you Auburn fans, maybe I scared you a little bit with that UT Martin, and now I'm coming up with these stats here that say they're going to lose on the road to South Carolina. Here's the reason for that. Years ago, I was on Reddit, and I saw a video, and it's one of these dash cam videos of a car just driving down the interstate. Okay, it's just driving down the interstate, not doing anything wrong. Well, it must have been real windy, because several cars on up ahead, one of those big giant interstate signs, and those things are tall. They don't look tall when they're up in the air, but when you're close to them, when they're on the ground, they're very tall. Well, the dude's driving along, and just for whatever reason, one of those signs collapsed, just fell into the road, and cars were crashing into it and everything. And the top comment on the video was, okay, now all fears are rational. And I'll just tell you, yes, that's kind of what you should think about with Auburn Equestrian. Yes, Auburn Equestrian is number 1 right now. And I'll tell you, by the end of the season, Auburn's either going to be number 1 or number 2. I mean, they're just good. Auburn and Georgia are the best right now. And so Auburn's going to be number 1 or number 2. But even still, Auburn might end up 8th at the end of the national championship tournament. Auburn could lose in the first round. All fears are rational. We have seen this. We have seen loaded Auburn teams go into Ocala and just stumble out of the gate. With UT Martin, Auburn didn't look great. They look good. All fears are rational. Be afraid of everything is what I'm saying if you're an Auburn fan. For everybody else, hey, you know what? If y'all want to be super overconfident when y'all face Auburn, go ahead and do that. That'll help Auburn out. But those are my final thoughts. Just all fears are rational. Well, all right. That is it for this show. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening, and War Horses.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.